Okay.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Parshat Pekudai, Dov, is it? Thank you. Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
Okay.
Check it. We're not sure.
Parshat Pekudai is Parshat Pekudai is the conclusion of the Sefer of Shemot. So actually we're going to go, not on page 530, all right, we're going to go to the very end, and then we're going to work our way up and back quite a bit. So we know, or we will know soon, that Ramban, we discussed before, Ramban explains how each book of the Torah is its own story. And that is why there is often overlapping that takes place within one book and another book. Because it's not meant to be one continuous story. Each one has its own area of focus. The book of Bereshit, he says, is the book of creation. Not just the physical creation, which only takes about 20 verses in the beginning of Bereshit, but it's laying down the fundamentals, the structure of society, and of the avot, of the patriarchs, the matriarchs, and all creation of the Jewish people. So that is the book of Bereshit, the book of creation. Shemot is the book of exile and redemption. That is why, if you'll turn back for a moment to the very, very, very first verse, first pasuk in Shemos, we have something that's repetitive. That is on page 292. The book begins, Shemot begins, Ve'ele Shemot b'nei Yisrael habayim Mitzrayim. These are the names of the children of Israel who came down to Mitzrayim, to Egypt. Eit Yaakov, with Yaakov, Ish ubeito ba'u. Each man in his household came. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, etc. Now, is this when they're coming down?
No.
They've been down already. The end of the last few parshiot of Bereshit had Yaakov coming down to Egypt, encountering Yosef, all the brothers down there, and we have Yosef taking care of the family, right? And then we have Yosef's death. Good morning, Debbie. So they're already down in Egypt.
So these books are like self-contained then?
Yes, to a certain degree they are self-contained topics.
Okay.
So therefore, why is Shemot repeating coming down to Egypt when they came down 2 or 3 parshas back already in Bereshit? Oh, because that was laying the foundations of the world with the creation, the physical creation and the spiritual creation, and that included the avos, and it also included Yosef. If you remember, we once discussed this. Yosef, to a certain degree, was a quasi-av. How is Yosef almost like a patriarch? How is he like Yaakov, his father?
He looked like him.
Well, besides looking like him, right? Because he too had tribes.
Yes.
Right? His sons, Menashe and Ephraim, had the status of Shvatim. So Yosef is really a bridge in between we could call him a quasi-Av, almost an Av. Therefore, the book of Bereshit ended with the death of Yosef. That was the very last pasuk in Bereshit, because that was the end of the creation of the physical and the spiritual creation of the world, and the spiritual creation brought about by the Avot, by the patriarchs, including to a certain degree Yosef. Now Shemot is the book of exile and redemption. Therefore, what do we need to deal with over here? We're going to double back. It was the book of exile. It has to start with the very beginning of exile. So therefore, it's going to recount. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came down to Mitzrayim. If it's the book of exile and redemption, it has to start with the very, very beginning of exile, going down to Egypt. Now, Ramban, I mentioned this before, Ramban explains. So then it has to end with redemption. So we would expect redemption to be perhaps Exodus from Egypt. But that, of course, took place not at the end of Shemot, but in the middle. We would think, oh, we're talking about a spiritual redemption, Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. But again, that takes place in Parshat Yitro. That was much earlier. You'd say, oh, the redemption is going into Israel. That's what Shemot will end with, but that's not even in the Torah. That's only in prophets, in Yoshua and Joshua. So what is the redemption that the Torah in fact ends? This book of exile and redemption. What is the actual redemption that the Torah ends this book with? So let's go to page 540.
It's God presence, no?
It's God's presence filling the Mishkan. Let's read that last paragraph. When we say the last parsha, we often refer to as a parsha as the parsha of the week. But every paragraph in the Torah is considered a parsha. So now we have the very last parsha of this book of exile and redemption, page 540. So take that for us in Hebrew, please. Vayichas ha'anan.
ויכעס הענן,
Go ahead.
ויכעס הענן את אוהל מועד, וכבוד השם מלא את המשכן, ולא יכול משה לבוא אל אוהל מועד, כי שכן עליו הענן, וכבוד השם מלא את המשכן.
Okay, let's pause there, right? And let's hear that in English, 34 and 35. Stu, you want to take that for us?
The cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting, for the cloud rested upon it, and the glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle.
Right? It seems almost redundant,
Yeah.
right? And the glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle. Next verse, and the glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle. Ukvod Hashem malei, the honor of Hashem filled the Mishkan. Okay? So we have this geula, this redemptive state that we have attained. What is that? God's presence is tangibly there with us. Let's go further in Hebrew. Uvehalot, Debbie, in Lamed Vav.
והעלות הענן מעל המשכן יישאו בני ישראל בכל מסעיהם. ואם לא יהיה עולה הענן, ולא יסעו עד יום העולתו. כי ענן השם על המשכן יומם, ואש תהיה לילה בו. לעיני כל ישראל בכל מסעיהם.
Good. The last three in English, 36, 7, and 8.
When the cloud was raised up from upon the tabernacle, the children of Israel would embark on all their journeys. If the cloud did not rise up, they would not embark until the day it rose up. For the cloud of Hashem would be on the tabernacle by day, and the fire would be on it at night, before the eyes of all the house of Israel throughout their journeys.
Okay. So what we have over here,
Interesting. A cloud of Hashem.
yeah, the cloud of Hashem and the fire of Hashem. We're going to see more about that soon. So basically what we have over here with the Mishkan is, as Ramban describes it, it is a mobile Har Sinai, a mobile Mount Sinai. We've taken that Sinai experience and we have built a space that it comes with us. And we mentioned before, that is why Sinai itself, we don't even know where it is. It's right, it's somewhere in the Sinai Peninsula. We gave it back to Egypt, which is Mount Sinai. It's not a big deal for us. Mount Sinai is not a big deal for us. What's a big deal is what took place there and what we took with us. The Kotel, that's something else. The Kotel, that was where we took this mobile Har Sinai, and that became, the Pasuk talks about the Nachala and the Menucha. That became the place where it rested, that became its permanent place. That to us is Kodesh Kadashim. That to us is Holy of Holies. It's always interesting to note that for Islam, the holy, holy city is
Mecca.
Mecca. Right? And what does Mecca mean to Judaism and to Christianity?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And for Christianity, their holy city is
Right.
Bethlehem. And what does Bethlehem mean to Judaism and Islam?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And to Judaism, what is our holy, holy city?
Jerusalem.
Yerushalayim. And what does that mean to Islam and to Christianity?
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, I don't know everything, but certainly a lot.
Unfortunately.
Right?
What they want.
They want it, right.
Unfortunately, but truth attracts.
Right.
Right? But truth attracts. It is, yes, unfortunately. Okay? But that is what is sacrosanct to us. And,
Grandma?
yes.
It's interesting that the place, I mean, like where the temple is, that's holy, and Sinai isn't. I mean, it doesn't make sense, because you would think that where everything came. I mean, Sinai is basically what we all here for.
But isn't it
And
the
that's-
moment, not the place?
Yeah, I know, but the place is also important, because the place is in Jerusalem.
As Rabbi Sina said, it's what happened there that we take with us.
It's the
I
experience.
know, but why is it that and not the other? I mean, why isn't it switched around? Why is it specifically that Sinai isn't important, that place isn't important, and Jerusalem is? And the reason Jerusalem is because of Jacob and everybody.
Well, that was
before.
always
So it was
set
always.
to the place.
It was always meant to be a holy place. But why? I mean, it's just interesting why is it like that?
You know, it's interesting.
Because it makes sense the other way around. It doesn't make sense
You know,
this way around.
we are a very unique people, that we were exiled from our homeland, from all that we had for so long, and we retained our identity. Our identity is the Torah. And that is what keeps us as a nation. And we're not, even Yerushalayim. We forever mourned Yerushalayim, but we existed without Yerushalayim. For us, it's not the place. It is the Torah. It is that connection to Hashem. Right? Actually, the book of exile and redemption has us reaching our redemptive state where? In the desert. We become Geulim where? In the desert. In the middle of nowhere. It's not because of any place. And it's fascinating because the first two psukim that we read, the cloud covered the meeting, glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle, Moses entered the meeting, the cloud rested upon it, the glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle. The next three psukim are talking about what? Traveling. With Hashem.
It's almost like foreseeing
Ends
the
with
lives
journey.
of the Jewish people, because we will be traveling, we're scattered among the nations, and we are with Hashem.
Yes,
It's-
and Geulim, being redeemed, is having that closeness with Hashem. It's not bound to a place. You know, we discussed before Shemot, shame, right? Why is this book of exile and redemption referred to as Shemot, names? And we discussed that a person's name, Jewish name, is a very, very fundamental revelation of who that person is. And our life is nothing but a journey of, we're given the name, I was given the name Yisrael Yehuda at my bris, and that which means that in the heavens, the greatest that I could be is this Yisrael Yehuda, and my life is a journey to become that Yisrael Yehuda, to try to merge the two. And Nefesh Chaim says the names that we find in the Torah that are one next to the other, we find Moshe, Moshe. We find Avraham, Avraham. And the idea of the two names close to one another means that Moshe became that Moshe. He bridged the gap. And Avram became that Avraham. They bridged together. There's a slight difference between them. There's a psik, without going into that now. But our life is meant to be this journey. So why focus on where the journey almost began? Why is that mountain, why would that be so important to us? We took it with us. We incorporated all that that mountain had to offer into the Mishkan, and we'll see and then some. We're going to soon see, I'm reading some view from David Foreman, how this just went beyond the Har Sinai experience, focusing on these psukim. But we'll do that soon. Debbie.
I just wanted to say, Shivisi Hashem Lanegdi Summit goes with us everywhere there is a shul, everywhere there is a place where people daven, the Ner Tamid, that light is with us.
The pasuk that is quoting from Tehillim that was written by the Sefer Torah. It's written written on top of the Aron Kodesh, on the Amud, which means Shivisi Hashem. I've always placed Hashem in front of me. That I always feel Hashem's presence is right. Halavai, but that's what we're supposed to be. That we always feel Hashem's presence in front of us. Yes, Janet.
Okay, and then at least maybe one reason in some cases we say next year in Yerushalayim is because Hashem said 3 times a year you shall appear in the place I will designate. So it's Hashem mandated.
Yeah.
Yerushalayim.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then on the other hand, we don't completely leave out Sinai because once a year for 2 days we all reassemble during Shavuot.
We will reassemble where?
At Sinai.
During
Shavuot.
Shavuot.
Figuratively.
Yes, figuratively, no.
Yeah, but we really should be there, right? And we should really.
Figuratively, yeah, but we return to Yerushalayim. Now, keep in mind, I don't want to be misunderstood. We are Geulim even though we're outside of Israel. Once we entered Israel, and once Yerushalayim became the place, then the place for the ultimate full Geula could only be in Yerushalayim. But individually, right, we personally become Geulim as we connect, as we have this Shivisi Hashem Lanegdi Tamid, as we have this connection with Hashem. Right? That is what we are. That's the sojourn that we are on. Yes, Dov.
Doesn't Geula mean actually something's going to be revealed? So Hashem's going to reveal something what we're not ready. That's what we haven't.
Yeah. I think we once mentioned that the word Gaal and Gala meaning exile and Gaal being redeemed, are the same letters, except Gimel Lamed, but one has the Aleph and one has the Hey, and the Hey is the spread out, and the Aleph is the unity.
The Galot means to reveal.
Yeah. Leah.
This is the book about redemption, exile and redemption. And if one was writing a book about reaching a certain destination, you would think the end would say, and we arrived in Switzerland at the Alps,
right,
and it was beautiful. Or it was beautiful and we arrived in Switzerland. And then
mission accomplished, right?
But it ends, and everybody, the arriving is the journeys, because it says the house of Israel throughout their journeys. It ends on journeys, so we're not. It's still
and our being Geulim. That's what I'm saying. Our being Geulim is not dependent, right, on a place. It's on a state.
It's a spiritual.
It's a
but
state.
then when God said to Abraham, Lech Lecha, He says to the land. So it's like a specific place.
Asher Areka, that I will show you.
But it's referring to a specific place.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. The ultimate Geula will need to take place in that place. But the ultimate Geula is not being in that place. The ultimate Geula is that we will reach that state.
In that place.
Now, it might be we can only reach that state in that place, and that is true. But the geula is not being in the place. The geula is being in that state. And I think that is what is really being emphasized here, as you pointed out beautifully. That the geula is a mobile geula. The last 3 psukim are about the journeys. Right? The last words are b'chol mas'ehem. In all of their journeys. The very last words of this sefer of geula, the last word is mas'ehem. Their journeys.
I think it's also key that it says le'enei, before the eyes, so that their Hashem was the cloud and fire. Everyone saw this, and it was Hashem's
Yeah,
presence.
shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid, like Devi said. Exactly right. Okay, I want to share with you. This very day before, I mentioned a lot of his stuff. So he sees beautiful structures in the Torah that often when we're learning, we are focusing in on this pasuk and that pasuk, and we sort of often miss pretty amazing things about
the systems view.
Yeah, about the structure of it.
Big picture.
And there's something called atbash. Atbash. At is aleph, taf. Bet, bash is bet, shin. So you have the first and last letter of the alphabet, and then you have the second and second to last, and third, right? And you work your way in, right? In English, that's called a schiastic. Am I pronouncing it? Schiastic? Am I pronouncing it wrong? S-C-H-I-A-S-T-I-C.
I thought he said chiasmic with a like.
Maybe C. Okay.
Maybe I thought it.
Chiastic,
I watched
yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Chiasmic.
Yeah.
And I think
so it's a certain structure that we often find in the Torah. And he points out over here, we have just spent the past 5 parshiot, really. It's amazing how much of Shemot is dedicated to this building of the Mishkan. So we have, starting on page 444, okay? Maybe just put your bookmark at the very end where we are over here, and we're going to be doing some flipping over here. Page 444 started with the Mishkan, right? Parshat Truma. Yikuli Truma, take from me the donations, all the different parts. And that then carried on for the next 6 chapters, all the way through Perek Lamed Aleph, all the way until we come to page 490. All of that is one topic. It was Parshat Truma, Parshat Tetzaveh, and it was the start of Parshat Kitisa. All of that was one topic. What was that one topic? The Mishkan. Now on page 490, the very bottom, verse 15, we have 2 verses now. Sheshet yamim yasem malacha, uv'yom hashvi Shabbat Shabbaton Kodesh LaHashem. So we have Mishkan, then we have Shabbos.
Place and time.
Sorry?
Place and time.
Yes. Okay. Now that takes us through, and now page 492. So we have Mishkan, Shabbos, and now we have Vayitein el Moshe kechaloto ledeberito b'Har Sinai shnei luchot ha'edut. The next thing we have are tablets. Okay? Then the nation saw that Moshe was late, and we have that whole Chet HaEgel scenario. Okay? Moshe Aaron, the sin of the golden calf, Moshe coming down, grinding it up, Moshe then beseeching Hashem to forgive us, right, or to not allow his name to be destroyed. Then, on the other end, on page 506, what do we have? Chapter 34, right? Psalach hashnei luchot avanim. Right? Now we have the second luchot. So look how we started. We started with Mishkan. The next thing we had was Shabbos. We had the first tablets. In the middle we had the sin of the golden calf. Now we're working our way back again. So we had Mishkan, Shabbos, tablets. In the middle, what do we have? Golden calf. Now let's work our way out. What do we have coming out now? Tablets. Okay. Tablets. And then chapter Lamed Hey 35. What do we have? Parshat Vayakel, page 516. Vayakel Moshe called up in Israel v'yam alehem. Eilot Moshe Hashem lasotatam. Sheishet yamin teasem malacha. V'yom hashvi elechem kodesh. Shabbat. Shabbaton la Hashem. Kol osa b'malacha yumat. Lo tuvar eish kol moshe yom Shabbat. Okay, and now, so again, we had Mishkan, Shabbos, tablets, Egel, tablets, Shabbos. What's the next thing? Vayom Moshe kol Yisrael. Zeh hadavar shetzva Hashem leimor. Chu meitchem truma la Hashem. Now, what do we have again? Mishkan. Okay? So we have an exact mirror image over here.
Can you repeat it?
Yes.
I wanna write it down.
We started with chapter Chaf Hey,
No, what it is.
Mishkan,
Right.
Shabbat, tablets, Egel, and now the mirror image. Tablets, Shabbos, Mishkan.
But was there one in the middle that was not a mirror?
Yes, Egel.
There you go. I know, because to me that seems like a very important part.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
a low point instead of the high point.
It's a low point, but it's a central point.
Yeah.
That is the central point. Again, so Mishkan, Shabbos, tablets, Egel, tablets, Shabbos, Mishkan.
A V structure, if you will.
I'm sorry?
A V
Yes.
structure, if you will.
Yes. So,
That's his Rabbi Foreman's.
yes. Now,
Oh, yeah.
let's
Amazing.
go.
Amazing.
Now, whenever you see one of these structures, he says, you always want to keep pushing the boundaries out to see how far it goes.
Right.
In other words, we might have noticed, hey, oh, that's interesting. The Egel is set off by tablets and tablets. You go a little further, oh, and then we have Shabbos and Shabbos. We've got Mishkan and Mishkan. So you always want to then go push out a little further, and let's see if what's before Mishkan and Mishkan, as we go further out, let's see how those relate. So let's go to right before Mishkan, page 442. Okay, in Hebrew, in English, page 443. Let's start with Pasuk Yud Bet. Okay, and we're going to be comparing this to page 540, where hopefully our bookmark still is, which is at the very end of the Mishkan. We're going to be comparing the two extremities of prior to Mishkan to after Mishkan. Let's see what we have over here now. Someone take in English, please, from verse 12. Hashem said to Moshe.
Hashem said to Moses, ascend to me to the mountain and remain there, and I shall give you the stone tablets and the teaching and the commandment that I have written to teach them. Moses stood up with Joshua his servant, and Moses ascended to the mountain of God. To the elders he said, wait for us here until we return to you. Behold, Aaron and the Hur are with you. Whoever has a grievance should approach me.
Good. And now comes the very last paragraph, right? The paragraph, the parsha that's right before Mishkan. Continue, Jill.
Moses ascended the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain. The glory of Hashem rested upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for a 6-day period. He called to Moses on the 7th day from the midst of the cloud.
Okay. So what do we have right before the Mishkan?
Cloud.
We have the cloud there on Har Sinai.
Right.
Keep the place here and come back to page 540. What do we have immediately after Mishkan? Vayichas ha'anat o moed. The cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle. What difference is there?
One is the mountain, one was the tabernacle.
One is the mountain, one is the tabernacle. What other difference do we find about the cloud over here?
It was for a 6-day period.
One ascended and one the
It was
cloud
a 6-day period,
raised
whereas
up.
this way, whenever they traveled, it was going up,
Okay,
coming down.
good.
But the cloud covered the mountain.
The cloud covered the mountain of Sinai.
Yeah.
And over here what happened?
Cloud covered
The
tent of
God,
meeting.
the glory of Hashem, the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle.
So that's
Right? In verse 16, back before, the glory of Hashem rested upon Mount Sinai. And over here, what's the glory of Hashem doing?
Resting on the.
covered.
It's filling
Filling.
That's resting.
the tabernacle.
Same.
Okay? So there we had the Kavod Hashem, same exact words. Kavod Hashem, right? The glory of Hashem, right? Which is upon Mount Sinai. Here the glory of Hashem is within. Okay? He called to Moses on the 7th day from the midst of the cloud. I'm back on page 443. The appearance of the glory of Hashem was like, okay, he called to Hashem, right? So Hashem called, right, out to Moshe. Okay? The appearance, verse 17, the appearance of the glory of Hashem was like a consuming fire on the mountaintop before the eyes of the children of Israel. Moses arrived in the midst of the cloud and ascended the mountain. Moses on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. So he points out there's another element over here. What's the other element we have over here? Fire. How do we end off? The very last pasuk? The Eish. Tialai lebo. Le'necho beit Yisrael b'chol mas'ehem. So he says very beautifully, and I want to try to build on this a little bit. It started out with the glory of Hashem on a God-made structure. How does it end? With the glory of Hashem in a man-made structure. It started out with a fire that was an Eish Ochelet. That was a consuming fire, on the mountaintop. Barosh Hahar. How does it end off? Also with a fire. What type of fire is this?
It's not a consuming fire.
It's not a consuming fire at all.
It's
What fire is it?
Before the eyes.
It's the fire that lights the way.
It's a fire that lights the way. It's a guiding
Yeah,
fire.
lights the way.
That will travel
It's almost an embracing fire.
When you said structure, the cloud, it said filled, surrounded, and penetrated. It's almost like four-dimensional, because it's time,
Yeah.
space and time. It's like God is everywhere.
Yeah,
So you have these.
yeah. But we see we've gone from this Sinai connection, coming back later to what you had asked. But why is Sinai so completely non-important? And I said because we've gone so far beyond Sinai. Sinai was Hashem putting his presence on his mountain. And it was hovering over that mountain. And now we've gone so beyond that, that it's something that we created. Right? Remember we discussed by Truma, Asher Yidvenu Libo, right? That person's heart inspired them to give these donations. That which we built, that which we built lovingly, that we built generously. Now it's Hashem's presence that's not on it, but that's in it. And it's not the fire that's consuming, it's the fire that is warming, that is illuminating, that is embracing.
I was going to say, because we built the Mishkan for Hashem, He gifted to us this beautiful glory, His glory.
Correct.
He gave us the responsibility of saying, okay, now take care of my glory.
Correct. But what's astounding
It's the middle.
is the middle.
That's
There we go.
The ego.
What's astounding is we've gone from this extremity to this extremity, from this extremity of God's presence on the mountain, awe-inspiring fire. People, they're going to Chazal, they say their souls left them. It was this overwhelming, God-imposing experience to the point that the Gemara says that, well, Chazal say, Kafa aleim har kegigit. He held the mountain over us like a bowl, like this, and said, if you accept the Torah, great. If not, this will be a burial place. And Maral says, he didn't literally lift the mountain, put it over our heads, but the experience was so overwhelming that we had no free will. To the point, the Gemara says that no Jew could fully be held accountable for not keeping the Torah until the time of Purim. From Sinai to Purim, no Jew could be fully held accountable. Because he said, why didn't you keep the Torah? I got forced into it. I got forced into it. The mountain was over my head. By Purim, Kimu v'kiblu ha'Yehudim, the Gemara says that we re-accepted the Torah me'ava, out of love, at that point. But Sinai was this overwhelming, imposing experience that we had no free will. I will. And we went from there to the Mishkan, to God's presence filling that Mishkan. Right? And also realize it was such an intense, another point here that we didn't mention before, there Moshe enters into the cloud. Here it was right back over there by Sinai. Here it was so intense, V'lo yachol Moshe lavo lo moed. Moshe cannot even go in there. That's how intense God's presence was. Moshe couldn't even go in there.
No matter what we do badly, there's always hope, redemption, peace,
yeah. Okay.
forgiveness.
So Debbie's addressing. So the question like Leah brought up, right? That I was sort of leading the audience in that direction. So we've gone from this to this, but the middle point is the Eikel.
But it's never too late.
Okay, so Debbie, you want to say it's never too late. I want to be a little more radical, I think.
There's always a human problem that we have to work on.
But sometimes you have to experience rock bottom in order to understand and
That's
go
right.
That's
up
what I want to say.
Yeah.
and go and climb again.
That's what I want to say.
Fire.
It's
Step by
not
step.
just even if there is Yerida Litzorech Aliyah. You've got to go down
In order to go.
in order to go. We don't therefore say, okay, I'm going to totally mess up, but it's almost inevitable. It's almost inevitable. And I want to say that is really what's written into the very DNA of this whole Sefer, this whole book of Shmos. Because we said Shmos is the book of exile and redemption. And I mentioned before, what does that have to do with Shmos, with a name? a name represents our own personal exile and redemption. What is our own personal exile and redemption? And this is something that I use personally to help me get through and understand when there are deaths, early deaths, what we would call premature deaths. God's not calling it premature, but from our perspective, right, it is a premature death. And the way that I get myself through it is that this world is a world of exile. This world is a place where our soul is sent into exile. And here in exile it wears this very ungainly, heavy material called a guf, called a body, and it deals with all of this physicality and all of this materialism and all of this sensuality, all of these things that are very foreign to what it is. And it is in this exile that it has the ability to elevate itself, to become greater than it ever could have been had it remained in the heavenly realm. And it's only in this world where it can then reach that point of Yisrael Yehuda, Yisrael Yehuda, Devora, Devora, Chaya Rivka, Chaya Rivka. Esther Buncy?
Yeah, you got it.
I say it every
Esther
Shabbos.
Buncy, yeah.
Your son's name. Right? Esther Buncy to Esther Buncy. That's how it works. So it's the way I wrap my head around a premature death is that was how long the exile needed to be. So it was, some of us need a long exile, some of us need a short exile. We who are stuck here in this world, we see that it ended. But the Torah says, Banim atem l'Hashem Elokeichem, al tisgodedu. The Torah says you are the children of Hashem. I forget which Rav gave this example. When he was comforting a family who had lost a child. And he said, imagine a sibling goes into his brother or sister's room and sees that the bed is empty. And in a panic, oh no, what happened? What happened? And they go running to tell the parents. They run into the parents' bedroom and they see that the child is there cuddled up between his mother and father, asleep in the bed there. And you realize, oh, I thought he was gone. I didn't know what happened to him. But I see, he's cuddled up. What is a more comforting image than cuddling up in our parents' bed, between our parents? He told, this Rav told this family that we don't see the child. And we're like, oh no, what happened? But the child is cuddled up, is being embraced by Avinu Shema, by the Father in heaven. So it's an exile. Some people need a long exile. Other people need a shorter exile. But life itself is an exile. Life itself is a yerida litzorech aliyah. So therefore, that's what I'm saying. It's not just the egel is in the middle to show, even if you messed up, no, you can still, to realize that our whole life is a step down in order to go up. Our whole life is a Sinai, Egel, Mishkan. Not that we should do things wrong, but life inevitably, we do things that are wrong. That is the human condition. That defines who we are, what we do, how we act. That is it. And to recognize that that is who we are, and to utilize that to reach a higher point. That is Shemos. If this is the book of exile and redemption, it means we're going down in order to go up. And our life, shame, our names, we go down in order to we go up. And right over here we have that same central point is the Egel. Not that we should have done that, and we're still dealing with the repercussions of that. But at the same time, it's only that enabled a transition from a cloud on to a cloud in, to a fire that was rejecting to a fire that was embracing, to a presence that was so powerful that even Moshe cannot enter there. And that was on what we created. Right? Famously, the pasuk says, Na'aseh Adam, let us make man. And Rashi says, the Gemara says, that when Yanai, the king, gathered 70 chacham, 70 sages, put them into 70 different rooms, didn't tell them why he had gathered them, and told them to translate the Torah into Greek, which we now know as the Septuagint, and they knew that he was looking for provocation. He was looking to try to find reasons to show how the Torah was not true. And one of the things that they all miraculously made the same changes, one of the things that they changed was Na'aseh Adam. The pasuk says, let us make man. Let us make man. Isn't God one? What is let us make man? And Rashi there says, Rashi, of course, lived right in the throes of the Christian world and all that they were throwing at us with crusades and inquisitions. And they look at that as, you see, there's a trinity. Na'aseh Adam. And what we say is that even though God knew that this was going to be used against us, the message from Na'aseh Adam was important enough to write Na'aseh Adam, even though we'd have all of this collateral damage coming from it, even though it will come at us so harshly in later generations. And Na'aseh Adam, Rashi says, Na'aseh Adam is that Hashem didn't act on his own. Hashem sought the counsel of the others, the angels, or Nefesh HaChaim. They would also be contributing. Right? Twersky says Na'aseh Adam is that there is a partner in the creation of man. Who is the partner? We partner with God in the creation of ourselves. And we are creating ourselves throughout our life with every decision that we make, every word that we speak, every thought that we have. We are the composite of all of that. That is what we are creating. And it is through our creations that the Shekhinah, that Hashem's presence comes and dwells. So we're not focusing on Har Sinai. Har Sinai is passé, right? We're the opposite end now of that central point.
But then why are we focusing on Israel and Jerusalem?
Because that is the place where we can achieve the state. Once we entered Israel, that is the place where we can achieve the state of being Ge'ulim. And that's the place of the Mishkan. That is the idea that we took that Har Sinai experience, we took it with us, and this is the place where we can become Ge'ulim. It's not the place, it's the state. And we can fully reach that state there.
So for
in
me,
Israel.
that what I carry away from that is that it's probably important for us to forget Sinai. So we focus on ourselves and what we have to do to evolve.
We focus on inculcating Sinai into ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, to make ourselves Geulim, right? B'chol Masehem, right? In all of our travels. Yes, Jack.
So when a parent starts and they convey the name, is that, I mean, many parents spend a lot of time after they see the child. Are we always sure that
The Jewish name we say is prophecy.
So the parents always, what if they're naming after another deceased family member? I mean, then it might not be.
The Or Chaim says the Jewish names are prophecy. That is the name of the neshama.
Okay, so immediately someone would know what they have to strive for.
We spend our life trying to figure that one out. It's not immediately.
I meant, but at least you have a blueprint in this name.
Exactly what blueprint one gains from the name, I'm not sure.
Okay, and what if you don't have your name?
When I hear Yisrael Yehuda, I don't see a blueprint.
Okay.
I'm trying to sort it out.
Okay, well, okay, fair enough. And then it seems like this, at least analogous, even if not completely parallel, it makes a very good case, as you said, that the tabernacle, the Mishkan, is a movable Sinai. Because when you look at that structure, how much is analogous?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
when you point by point, so
Yeah.
that pretty much
Yeah.
makes that case.
Yeah, Chai Rivka?
When you said that we're partners in creation, and God creates everything, and we as human beings, we create something like a painting, or we come to a spiritual conclusion, or David Foreman figured out the Torah, things like that. It is still connected to Hashem. It isn't that we create and He creates. It's all, isn't that correct? What we create is really an outgrowth.
And we view it as a utilization
Right.
of gifts that God has given us.
So that our creation is it's
An expression.
subordinate in
Yeah.
a way to Hashem's creation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Rabbi, the other fire that I'm thinking of, that just jumps out at me is the burning bush, the fire that was not consumed. So where would that fit in this picture?
Well, actually, that's probably going to be that certainly connects to Har Sinai. In other words, when Moshe saw the burning bush, he was told about the ultimate redemption, right? And that they would be on this mountain, right? And receive the Torah, right? So Moshe at the burning bush almost got a sampling of what Sinai was going to be. Now, if something is burning but not getting consumed, what does that mean? Why does something get consumed when it burns? Because that's the material, that's the fuel. It's getting consumed because that is the fuel. That is what is supplying the energy. If the bush is burning but not getting consumed, what does it mean?
The bush isn't really burning, but rather there's a light around.
Or the energy is coming from elsewhere. Right? That it appears to us that this is the energy, but it's not. The energy, in fact, comes from elsewhere. And at Har Sinai, clearly that was that the energy, Hashem pulled back that curtain of obscurity, of obfuscation, and showed Ani Hashem. Right? I am the source of all power. I am the source of everything. And all the makot, the plagues that we went through, was to show that it's not this God, it's not that God, it's not this power, it's not that power. There is this one, right, in this polytheistic society, there is this one power that rules over all. So really, we went from an inkling of that Moshe was able to understand by the burning bush, to full bloom of Har Sinai, and now to, again, away from this awesome, fearsome fire and vision of God and His power, to this illuminating, warm, embracing, guiding. The fire was there to guide, guiding light of Hashem's presence. So it really was these different stages of understanding that aspect of Hashem. And that's something that I thought before, but as I'm talking now, I mean it's a possible way of looking at it.
I just wanted to say about the fire and the burning bush. I see there's two types of fire. You said that all this already, but there's fire that destroys, and that's what we know. And then there's fire that creates, and fire that also, I think of the burning bush, is Hashem reassuring Moshe when he said, "Oh, I can't speak." The fire didn't burn as if to show him love, and I'm going to take care of you, because it's not what you know. And immediately after this, he goes and gets that little sheep. So it was a reassurance. It was a spiritual fire, a fire that reveals God, which you said. But the consequences of it, first he said no. Then he shows him he loves him by the fire that doesn't burn. And then Moshe, isn't it right after? Wait a minute. The sheep comes first. Sorry, I don't know. The sheep. There's a little sort of a love scene with the little animal.
That's a
medrash.
medrash. It's a medrash. Yeah.
A medrash. That he cares, that he's so loving himself that Hashem then is loving to him.
Yep.
And so you have the fire that is also loving.
Yep.
Also. Yeah.
Well, the whole next book is going to be about fires, the sacrifices.
Oh, right.
Fire, right?
You're right.
Yep. Yeah.
Fires.
Fire.
Different kinds of fires, different sacrifices.
Yeah.
Sacrifices are carbon bringing us closer to Hashem.
Karban is karov.
Karov.
Yeah.
Fires that sustain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All right. We'll call it over here. Yeshkoach, everybody.
Thank you.
We focus on Jerusalem because God chose Jerusalem to be His city,
Right.
no?
Right.
So we had a Navi last night.
Exactly.
Right.
And
Makom asher bachar Hashem l'shkosh Hashem mikol shiftei Yisrael.
exactly. So there is a place. There is a place.
But it's not the place that does it. As we see in Navi, we're there and we're messing up. It's the state that we need to reach in that place. Being in the place is not enough. It's the state that we need to reach in that place. And in Navi we see that over and over and over. Right? We're there in Yerushalayim. We have Shlomo's Beis HaMikdash.
Right.
But that's not it. We need to be in the state in the place.